Scott, can you maybe
Yeah.
share with us, and I think you also have a slide for that, on the common errors that nurses make during the exam?
Sure, just give me a little second. I'll get that loaded up.
Okay, perfect. Because I think there really are some common things, that nurses mistake, some common mistakes.
Yeah, sure. Oh, here we go. Like that. Okay, so a few common errors that I have seen. Well, we'll talk specifically about nurses because that is our viewership today, but these are errors that I see generally that are made across a variety of student demographics, age demographics throughout the world that I've seen in my years actually teaching this exam and providing courses for these students as well. The first thing is, of course, relying on learning speaking and writing templates. If I can learn a speaking response, if I can memorize a 2-minute answer to a variety of different speaking prompts, or I can learn an essay into talking about climate change, I can take it word by word, step by step, paragraph by paragraph, I can copy and paste that into the exam, boom, I'm going to get my band 9 in my writing or my speaking. That is not going to happen because first and foremost, that way you're not going to be applying your answer specifically to the exact prompt. And IELTS are very, very good, as Irvin's he touched on earlier on when he was speaking, like the IELTS exam is international. It's standardized across every continent, every center. So everything is what's being done in one center in terms of changing the format, changing the prompts that you offer will be done elsewhere as well. So it's going to be changing. The prompts are going to change slightly, so you have to answer the question at a different angle or a different peg. Secondly, IELTS examiners are trained to spot templates. They will know if their template has been assigned in the answer spot, regardless of you're speaking or writing. So don't rely on speaking or writing templates. One, you won't answer the question appropriately, and two, you will be caught out and automatically score much lower in your task completion for your writing and your overall band score for your speaking. Secondarily, not developing enough complex and topical vocabulary. It's really a bit of a balancing act when it comes to how to use vocabulary appropriately in the IELTS exam. Of course, you need to start from the very bottom, build up from the basics once you've actually mastered some of basic vocabulary and grammatical structures, and build up from there. Then you can start applying something more complex and therefore make a difference between, for example, a band score 5 in your lexical resource, in your speaking and your writing, and then a band 7 or a band 8. At the same time, as it's been touched on previously, don't make it overcomplicated. Don't try and use words that are very verbose, out of context, or don't actually work. You need to get the basics first and build up appropriate, but especially in your speaking, it's really important you don't sound like a robot. You're trying to sound like the way a native speaker would speak. So if you're using big words here and there to sound impressive, you're going to sound very robotic and not very natural in your speaking. So develop from the bottom, but make sure you know what is inappropriate at the same time. As I mentioned, not perfecting the basics before adding complexity. Make sure, of course, you're getting your basic grammatical structures down, your basic vocabulary structures down, your basic scaffolding techniques to writing an appropriate IELTS writing task 2 essay, and build up from there, ideally from feedback from your teacher, and see how you can scaffold. Making responses too complicated. I've seen many candidates, especially in their speaking, they are going on and on and on, well beyond 2 minutes, and that's even assuming that they've built up their fluency enough to actually get to a speaking part 2 to begin with. But make sure, of course, first and foremost, that you're keeping it appropriate to the task, appropriate to the band scoring criteria, and also that you are getting feedback from a teacher who can actually then give you some advice and pointers into making sure that you are scoring appropriately in your exam itself. Touching a bit on listening and reading, it's very, very important that you don't go into the reading exam, the listening exam, just thinking, okay, I'll just do this as naturally as I can. I'll just try it my best without any guidance whatsoever. Listening and reading is very methodical. It's very, very structured. So you need to learn the techniques to enable you to successfully complete the activities within the time frame, also incredibly accurately, but not just learn them, apply them, see how well you've done. What areas are you scoring well in? Which tasks do you need more assistance in? relearning, and then reapplying over time intelligently by self-reflecting upon your skills, your strengths, and your weaknesses. Okay, so make sure you're learning the strategies and applying them with the appropriate feedback. The last thing I want to say, it's been touched on many times today, but this is the big one: self-studying for your IELTS exam. It's going to cost you a lot of time. It's going to cost you a lot of money. It's going to result in some hairs coming out of your head because you'll be frustrated with your progress. It's going to cause you some sleepless nights. It is not the way that most candidates should prepare for this exam, because I relate to studying for the IELTS exam being a skills-based exam, not an exam on your intelligence, to driving a car. I didn't just jump in a car one day, I'm going to take my driving test and hope to pass. I had to learn the skills and build up in that to get my passing score. You know what? The IELTS exam is the exact same concept. Learn from expert instructors or a comprehensive program and allow them to show you the skills, the techniques, the strategy, and most importantly, get the feedback to passing your exam the first time.
Okay, I love that analogy, Scott. That is a great analogy about learning to drive a car, because nobody just gets in a car and just drives. It's a skill. You have to learn it. You have to be taught how to drive. And then after a while, you drive and you almost say to yourself, well, how did I get from A to B? So that's kind of what happens. And that's,
exactly.
I think,
So you know, I wasn't the perfect car driving student as well, so I wouldn't have been the perfect IELTS student. I did pass the second time, unfortunately. But you know what? It could have been 6 or 7 times, so that's a win to me.
But you and Irvin and Alex are all the perfect IELTS skills training experts, and that's why you're here today sharing your expertise with everybody who's watching, and we're so grateful for that, because I think that is really, to me, one of the biggest misconceptions about the IELTS is the self-studying. I think you really have hit on a very big takeaway. If anybody watching has one big takeaway from today's show, it's self-studying is very risky. You are risking your time, you are risking your money, and you are risking your ticket to America. So rather go with the experts who are there to teach you in the same way as you would learn how to drive a car. Eagle, what were the biggest errors? What are the biggest errors that you made in taking the IELTS? What did you wish you had known before you took it?
Well, of course, I need to know every how to attack each sub test. So in order for me to answer correctly, specifically in the listening part, so I need to stay focused in order for me to answer in each topic, and of course for the reading part. So I need to um, see the question first before going to the passages. Then, of course, through the writing part, so I focus on the biggest part, which is the task two, and then before answering the task one, then of course for the speaking test, I just stay focused in my examiner in order for me to grasp the question correctly and to answer right away, and to give my input and insight about that specific topic that the examiner given to me.
Okay, well, those are great tips and pointers, and thank you so much for sharing that with everybody.